it's hot. It's like sweating. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know, I'm Emil. This video is something that has been in the making for a long time, well before I even started my YouTube channel, because on my Instagram and on my Twitter, I always get messages where people ask me either what my coming out story was, my experience was, or ask me for advice on how to come out. And I always say, as far as advice on how to come out, I personally don't feel comfortable giving that advice, only because I don't know your situation, the people around you, and it's a very personal thing. But what I can do is tell you my coming out story. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm gay.
Oh God, help me, Jesus.
I know, shocker, right? Rainbow, because yeah.
Do the wrong way and work.
Because I want to serve you some looks. That's what we do. Okay, but all jokes aside, this is gonna be something that's very, I don't know, I've been trying to shoot this for quite a few days now, and each time I start, I just can't do it. And I think it's just because it brings back so many emotions and this vulnerable feeling. But I'm going to do my best to tell my coming out story, and here we go. So let's start at the beginning. Not that far back. Bring it back. Growing up, I was, and still am, a preacher's kid. So I grew up in Atlanta. My father is a Methodist pastor. My mom is Jamaican, and she grew up Pentecostal. So I grew up in a very religious family.
The glory! The glory! The glory!
For me, I knew that I was gay probably around the age of 4. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that there was something different about me. And when I say different, I mean compared to what I saw on TV or what was told to me as far as like, oh, you know, liking girls or things like that. And so I just knew that there was something different. And, you know, as I grew up, I finally found out what that thing was. And it was that I am gay. And being the son of a pastor and being in a religious family, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. Oh, and I was in Atlanta, so the South, the Bible Belt, and it was just a lot. It was a lot to process. So growing up, I did my best to try to conceal who I was. And when I say conceal, like, I was always focused on, oh God, I don't want to talk about this. Growing up, I was always focused on, you know, how I was talking, how I was walking, you know, who might be looking at me. I always wanted to make sure that I appeared straight. So when I asked my mom to take me shopping for back to school clothes or just clothes in general, like, I wanted to get the name brands of the straight guys that I saw and like try to emulate their style or try to emulate like rappers on TV, anything that would make me look as straight as possible. I don't think it worked, but I tried. It was just one of the hardest things for me to deal with, and I think being gay definitely made me stronger and obviously made me who I am today, because I had to overcome so much. Not just being gay, but being gay and black. It was a lot. It was a lot. In 5th grade, that's when I got into my first fight, and it was because Fred, who, actually I'm not gonna even talk about Fred, I'll save Fred for another story. Let's just say Fred said that I was gayer than the purple Teletubby.
Oh no! Oh no!
So Fred got these hands, and keep in mind, I wasn't like muscular or bulky or anything. Like, I was a scrawny kid, but Fred caught these hands. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not about to call me gayer than the purple Teletubby. Like, I was like, oh, I gotta let people know that I am not gay. So I was like, Fred, Moving on. The next fight I got into was in, I think 7th or 8th grade. And at the time, I was going to a school in North Georgia, and that school had some racists in there. And when I say had some racists, I mean pretty much one day somebody wrote the word nigger on the wall, like painted it in red. And that person did not get disciplined for it at all once they found out who it was, because he was the quarterback. Anyway, The next fight I got into was in 7th or 8th grade, and I don't know if I ever told anybody this because I was so terrified. I told people, because there was, some racist things that would happen at that school, I told them that I got into a fight because he called me the N-word, when in actuality I got into a fight because he called me a fag. And I just didn't want anybody to know I was gay. I never said that out loud. I think the reason why is because you can see that I'm black, but I felt that I could hide I was gay, and I was just so afraid of what people were gonna think if they found out that I was gay. Fast forward to 9th grade, I went back to a school in Southwest Atlanta, Westlake High School, where I went to high school for all of my high school career. And it was a transition because I didn't have many friends. Every day during lunch, instead of going into the cafeteria, I would go buy Hi-C fruit snacks from the lunch line, and then I would stand in the hallway outside the cafeteria and just wait for the bell to ring to go back inside. And this before I had a cell phone or anything. So because I didn't have friends at the time that I could go sit with, and I just didn't want to deal with the embarrassment of sitting by myself, so I would stand in the hallway. And then there was one day where there was a group of friends, or I guess not friends, a group of guys in my Spanish class, and that's the class that I was in when we would break for lunch.
Hola, me llamo Emilio.
And one of the guys went to my church. Another guy was just super nice, and I think one of them, Keenan, saw that I was standing in the hallway every day, and he said, "Hey, why don't tomorrow, you come sit with me and my friends during lunch?" And I was so excited. I was like, I can be one of the guys. Like, I'm gonna go sit with them and whatever. So that day the bell rings, I get my lunch, I sit down. So I'm sitting there with the guys, and they're talking about sports and stuff, which I wasn't into sports, and rappers and like things that I necessarily didn't identify with, but it felt cool to be part of the group. And I'm sitting there, and as I'm sitting there, Sean comes up to the table, and Sean is another one of their friends who was not in our class. And he immediately says, "Why the f*** is this fag sitting here?" And all I remember is I just wanted to be accepted. I just wanted friends. And I had done nothing. I was just sitting there. And I remember not saying anything. I jumped up from the table, ran out of the cafeteria so nobody could see me cry. And I went to the stairwell and I bawled my eyes out. Just because one guy called me a fag. And I remember when that happened, because I was so young and impressionable, I did think about taking my life. Because I was sick of hiding it all. I was sick of pretending to be somebody that wasn't. For years, I was just putting on this front, and I was just sick of it. I was done with it, and I thought about it. But then I made friends with a group of girls, some of which I still talk to today. And those became my group of friends over the next couple of years, and pretty much throughout my whole high school experience. We were in choir together, and we were in classes together, and that kind of helped get me through high school. But enough of all of that. Let's get to how I actually came out. I did not come out of the closet until I was 22 years old in 2012. I had never really had a girlfriend I had, you know, messed around with girls. I had, you know, girls who were very close friends, best friends, but I had never had somebody that actually said, this is my girlfriend, let me take you home to mom, that type of thing, and introduce you as my girlfriend. And so that was odd. I thought that there was no way that I could ever come out because of the circumstances in my family, because of just what people think, because I was raised to believe that, you know, I'm going to hell if I'm gay. And when I say raised to believe that, I don't think my parents ever said that to me, but like just growing up in the church, it was kind of, that's just kind of implied. It was like, okay, if you are gay, you're going to hell. And so I had all these things weighing on me, and I just didn't know how to process. For years and years and years. And when I say years, I mean almost every single day until I came out, I used to pray for God to take the gay away. Because so many people said, oh, you can pray the gay away. I would pray every night. I would pray, God, take the gay away. And I'll get so frustrated because I said, people think that this is a lifestyle choice and like we choose to be gay. And I used to say, why would I choose this? Why would I choose something that would make people consider me less than, or make fun of me, or discriminate against me, and make life harder and more challenging? Am I happy that I'm gay? Yes, I am happy that I'm gay because God made me this way. And I love my life. I love my partner. I love everything about me because this is who I am. But it is hard. I didn't choose to be gay. I'm choosing to be authentically who I am. Now, let's talk about this coming out story. My coming out was very difficult. I came out via Facebook. I know, but I didn't come out directly and say, hey guys, I'm gay, I'm here, I'm queer, get used to it. I didn't do any of that. I kept it very like cryptic. So I did this Facebook post, and if you had any type of inkling or you wondered if I were gay, then this probably told you, okay, Emil's coming out right now. But if you didn't, then it just seemed like a normal post. I'm gonna read you the post. So in the post I said, this was October 17th, 2012. Don't know who this is for, but I just had to say what's on my mind. It took me a while to realize how unhappy you can be when you are not truly being when you're not being truly authentic. Many people are afraid of what others think and say about them and choose to hide certain parts of who they are out of fear. AKA, this is me screaming I'm gay. Because of this, they pretend and even strive to be the person that others want them to be instead of who they truly are. I was trying to be straight. Why would you want to surround yourself with people who can't love you for you? Suppressing parts of yourself to appease people who don't have to live your life is dumb. You can't continue to let others dictate who you should be, how you should act, what path you should take, who you should love, or how you should live your life. Being inauthentic with yourself and others only leads to false happiness. On the flip side, why not give people a chance to get to know the real you? I've struggled with being myself for years. Growing up as a preacher's kid, there was a lot of pressure and expectations from family, the congregation, and friends that a lot of kids didn't have to deal with. There was also a fear of being judged for some reason, even though I was raised to believe that only God can judge me. It wasn't until this summer that I truly realized how that still affects me today. Back up. That summer is when I met AJ, and I'll tell that story with AJ on another video of how we first met, but just so you know, AJ came into my life. For those who've been following my web series, Chasing LA, I used to do a web series called Chasing LA. It's still on YouTube somewhere if you search for Chasing LA, and that was following my journey out here in LA. You see that I'm no longer afraid to open and... You see that I'm no longer afraid to open up and be myself in front of the camera. Still opening up. That's not easy for me. I had to learn how to let people in and not be afraid of judgment. When I began hosting at AfterBuzz and later enrolled in hosting classes with Maureen Brown, I was shy and timid. Those who truly know me know that I'm exactly opposite. However, when put in situations where I had to be myself with strangers, I was afraid to let loose and let people get to know the real me. I was lacking confidence because I wasn't comfortable being authentic. That's what happens when you hide behind a facade for so long. Long story short, be yourself. Hopefully somebody gets something from this. I'm thankful for the growth that I've experienced so far this year and for the people who have encouraged me to be Emil Ennis Jr. Simple as that, right? I did that post. I let it out. I didn't necessarily, well, actually, I didn't say I'm gay. I didn't. But I figured this was like the first step into letting it out, right? The next day, I posted this tweet on my Twitter saying, make sure that you wear purple today in order to stand up against bullying against LGBTQ plus youth or whatever for Glad Spirit Day. Maria Menounos, who was the creator and founder of AfterBuzz, the network that I was on at the time, she was the ambassador that year, so she sent out an email to everybody saying that we needed to tweet that. So that tweet went to my Facebook, and then probably 20 minutes later, I get a call from my cousin Shanice. And she says, "How are you?" I'm like, "I'm good." She's like, so... And keep in mind, nobody from my family had called me about the status from the day before. So she says, so our cousins, like our second cousin's pastor and so, some city called her to let her know or to ask her if you were gay. And I said, huh? And he's like, yeah, he said he saw something on Facebook where you said something about, bullying against LGBT youth, and also you posted this status yesterday. And I don't know what came over me. I was just like, I paused for a second. I was like, yes. I was like, I'm gay. I'm gay. I'm gay. I'm gay. And I was so happy to finally say it. I could finally say it. I'm over it. I was just like, I'm gay. I am gay. I'm gay. And it was the most terrifying and relieving feeling because I didn't know what her reaction was going to be, what the response was going to be. There are literally people in our community who... My light just fell. Oh, God. The light bulbs broke. Oh, no. All right. I have to fix those lights later. Moving on. There are so many people in our community who are disowned from their family. They are kicked out of their home and everything they've known for their whole life. They literally are beaten or murdered. And you just never know how the people around you are going to react when you come out, which is why it's so terrifying. And so her response was one with love that I'm always grateful for because it really made me feel loved. She said that, my Aunt Theris and my Aunt Lillian, they all, they love me and they're not going to judge me and like all these different things. And it just felt good to hear that response and not hear a response of judgment or whatever. So I got off the phone with her, and keep in mind, I had told my best friend Jenna, like a couple weeks before this, and I had told my roommates at the time that I was gay. And each time, like, I didn't get any type of judgy response. It was all responses out of love, which, like I said, isn't the case for everybody, but I'm so grateful for that. So after I got off the phone with my cousin, I immediately called my sister because I said, okay, cool. If my dad's side of the family knows now, then I need to call my sister because word travels fast in families. Like they're going to be calling like, ooh, girl, I got this tea for you today. Did you know that Emil's gay? It is what it is. So I called my sister, and my sister and I were 18 years apart. So I can tell her anything. And I kind of paused for a second. I told her that I was gay. And her immediate response was one of love, but also one of hurt that I didn't tell her all these years. And she said she always knew, which I'm like, how did you know? Like, how did you know? But apparently she said she always knew. I thought I was hiding it maybe better than I was. And we talked for a while. She made me feel so comfortable. She was at work, but like obviously she stepped out of the office and she made me feel so comfortable. And then after that, I think I said I hadn't told mom and dad yet, but I would tell them eventually. And we got off the phone, and she calls me back like 20 minutes later while I'm at work. And she immediately says, I told mom and dad. And I'm just like, what? I didn't know what to say. And she said, you were so terrified for all these years of coming out and of what their reaction was going to be. And I could tell, even when you said you were going to tell them eventually, that you were so nervous to tell them. She says, I didn't want you to be so terrified that they were going to find out from somebody else and not you, that you harmed yourself. So I told them for you. And I remember initially I was like, that sucks. Like, I wanted to tell them. But then, like, looking back, I don't know if and when I would have told them. And real talk, by the time I told them, they probably would have found out from somebody else anyway. So I'm glad that they came from my sister. I didn't hear anything from them that day. The next morning, I can't remember if I called or if my mom called, but somehow we got on the phone with each other, me and my mom. I was on the phone with my mom, and she like we were doing the niceties. Oh, good morning, how are you? You know, how was your day yesterday? Blah, blah. What are you up to? Blah, blah. And eventually I just cut to the chase and I was like, Mom, you know, I know Donna called you. And my mom just started bawling. She started bawling and crying, and she was so emotional and so raw. And she was just saying, she said, I always wondered why you never brought a girl home, because you're a handsome guy. And she was like, there were just so many questions that I had, and I could just tell she was just processing it all. And it was so hard because she lives in Atlanta and I was in California at the time, so it's not like we could do this in person. It was all over the phone. It was just a lot of emotions that we had to process, and we were both just crying. But she said she still loved me, and that's what I was grateful for. And then about an hour later, I got an email from my dad, and in the email, it was just a passage from the Bible talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. If you don't know the Bible, look up Sodom and Gomorrah and you'll see, you know, what that passage is about. But he sent that and never said anything about it or anything about me being gay or addressing it probably for the next 6 months. And there was one day about 6 months later where I finally was talking to him on the phone and I said, we have to talk. I'm gay. And it hurts me that you haven't said anything about it. You haven't brought it up. You haven't asked me anything. And I remember he said something to the effect of, well, what am I supposed to be, excited? And I just remember how hurt I was for him to say that. But then also realizing that it was probably a lot for him to process. And I really just wanted him to understand who I was and that I hadn't changed. I'm still little Emil. I'm still your son. I see you. I'm still that same person that you've known all these years. I'm just revealing my true self. And after that conversation, it was, you know, a hard road, but we've come so far. My parents and I, we talk. Okay, I don't talk to them every day, but they'll always answer the phone when I call, and they have met my boyfriend of 6 years. Obviously, they've met him multiple times, and they ask how he's doing. My mom texts AJ all the time and talk to him on the phone, and they send him Christmas presents, and I don't know, it's just, it could have gone a lot worse than it did. And I'm so grateful that my coming out, you know, ended up not being a super traumatic one. If anything, my family and my friends were some of the most supportive people that I could have asked for. Ever since I came out, I have this weight that's lifted off of me. I feel like I can just be myself, and I'm not super flamboyant all the time or sassy and all that different stuff. I can be, but that's not me on a day-to-day basis. But if I want to do that, I can. If I want to express myself in different ways, I can, and I don't feel any shame or any harm in that. And I just want to say to all those people who, you know, send me messages about, you know, how to come out and what to do. For me, I waited until I was in another city and I felt safe, and I was surrounded with people, being, I guess, friends who I knew would support me. So if ish hit the fan, I had a group to fall back on, a support group. At the time, I was starting to date AJ, so I had him. I had people around me where if everything that I know my whole life suddenly disappeared because they disowned me or they said they didn't want to see me again, I had a support system to fall back on. So even though I can't tell you how to come out, I can say make sure that you have some type of support system so that you don't crumble if things go south. And just know that there's people who are rooting for you, who don't even know you, who are fighting for you and fighting for the community. I hope that there comes a day where we don't have to come out. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's just yeah, I'm gay. Like, it's not like a huge ordeal. But right now, that still is the case. Right now, there are still people in the community who are being beaten and who are being murdered. There are people who are still being sent to conversion therapy camps, and there are people who are literally fighting for rights and lives all over the world. So until then, I think it's so important for me to just continue to be myself and to show that there's nothing wrong with being exactly who I am, just the way God made me. And I want to continue to be that example to so many out there who look up to me. But yeah, I feel like that was so long, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else in my coming out that I even missed, but that's my coming out story. I was gonna say I hope you guys enjoyed it, but I don't think that's something that you necessarily enjoy. But I'm out and proud now, and I thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. I have a lot more videos coming for you on this channel that are not as heavy as that, but I felt like I need to share that story since so many of you guys have asked me on my social media. And I guess that is a wrap. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.